The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Scott. Perch. I'm just kidding. Would it be crazy if that's how it happened though? Anyway, let's get to this email. It says, which pays more, children's book or comic book? Mail goes, Perch. Hey there. I found out that some of the Transformers Rise of the Beasts children's book art was done by a well-known Transformers comic book artist. Okay. Question. Which pays more? Doing art for a children's book or doing the art for a comic book issue? If it's the former, then I personally think that shows how fucked up the comic book industry is. Thanks for all you do. Unfortunately, I don't have a clear answer for you. So it could be, definitely could be the children's book. It depends about the distribution. So if the children's book in question has a really strong distribution, plan and stuff attached to it, then yeah, the children's book is paying more, and it should pay more because it's getting more copies into the hands of people and everything else. Look at it. Unfortunately, it's not apples to apples. If you take a children's book, say by Scholastic, and you compare it against the Transformers IDW series that's coming to an end because they lost the license, then I would expect the Scholastic, children's book to pay a lot more because, frankly, much bigger distribution, much bigger audience, bigger, pot, and all of it. It's there's more money at stake, more ground to be covered. So it makes sense that it makes more. The question mark really is, and this is, I see people arguing it for time, is what can, Marvel, DC, Image, new publishers, what can they learn from, Scholastic, from children's books? Because they're if you look at the children's book game, and I'm talking about the successes here, not the wide market. If you look at anything, there's niche titles that are not getting anywhere, and there's plenty of that. But there are definite children's book publishers, and people like Scholastic that's doing a really incredible job of of hustling, basically getting the product everywhere they possibly can. And they actually hire people who are channel marketers and just people who have distribution experience and people who know this game. And so as a result, they do quite well. And that's less about how bad comics are doing and more about just smart business. If you're going to basically create a product and put out into the world, you should try and get it as many places as possible. Now, it's probably a video I do for another time, but a few of you mailed me this Bleeding Cool article where they're summarizing this kind of argument from Brian Hibbs. And he's arguing about Image's move to Lunar and all the rest. And this article, and I'll go through it in detail, is like a case study for how fucked up the comic book industry is, by far. Now, I'm not a fan of Hibbs. I never have been. For many years, both in-person meetings, out-of-person meetings. I think the guy's a blowhard, and I think he talks more than he listens, and he enjoys his position, his rather lofty position of telling other people what to do. For whatever reason, I think people in the comic industry have treated this guy like he is, he's somebody who holds higher weight, no pun intended, above others. But the reality is, in many cases, the things that are being debated in this thread are kind of the exact things that the side effect is that kids' books and how mangas come out and how other deals have been done have opened up a lot of additional revenue streams for them in different places where comics can be sold, and that's been healthy for the books, not comics, books. Whereas what's in this thread is a lot of stuff around how dare you move from Wednesdays to Tuesdays? It's always going to be Wednesday in my shop. Well, cool. Is that what your customers want? I think when it all comes down to it is when you look at children's books, you look at Scholastic, you look at publishers, you look at people who are entering this industry, they're making a product and they're selling that product. One of the key metrics and drivers for success is, what do your customers want? Do your customers want comics on Wednesday, or have you arbitrarily picked Wednesday as the day in which you sell because comics used to arrive on Wednesdays, as an example? Do your customers care? And bear in mind, it's not extreme. It's not like the customer is king about everything. I think that, the retailer, because they're an important part of the value chain, has to get paid and has to have a business that they can actually understand and want to keep, investing in themselves. They need that. If they don't have that, then they're going to follow the value chain, and then no comics are going to get to the customer's hands. So you do need to care about the retailer and make sure that their interests are protected and you're doing things that help them. You do need to do that. That's important. But at the same time, that power balance can't totally tilt to the point where you won't move forward because it's too hard or it's too inconvenient for the industry. The reality is it sad that you can make more money doing a children's book than a comic book? Well, no, it's not sad. If the children's books have figured out distribution and how to get more copies out there and therefore increase their profit margin and what they can sell, then that's not sad at all. By the way, Disney Press and some of the bigger entities that do children's books notoriously pay absolute dog shit for this stuff. But just I'll throw that out there as well. So it's not, it would not be fair to say that every children's book artist is making boatloads more money than comics, but a lot of them do. And it's ultimately tied to how, what's being sold. How is it being sold? Where is it at? How many copies can be moved? Have you done the right things to maximize the return on this product that you've made? And I hammer on this stuff that, in this thread that Bleeding Cool posted, and we'll go through it, but it's filled with all this, I won't, I can't, this won't happen, that won't happen. Okay, cool. Who does this help? Well, it probably helps, Brian Hibbs, and because he's got a store in San Francisco. Remember, this is the same guy that during COVID basically, insulted comic shops that were opening in other areas because he was forced to shut down. He believed that everyone had to shut down. That people who is kind of like a scab breaking the picket line. If my business can't open because I've chosen to locate it in San Francisco, if you have a comic shop there in Austin, Texas, well, fuck you. You don't get to open because I can't open. That is batshit insane, but it also speaks to kind of the mentality of a lot of this comic industry, which is make it good for me, and I don't care about anybody else. Now, keep in mind, it is worth saying, Brian Hibbs did successfully sue Marvel at one point for doing things that were anti-competitive or anti-beneficial to retailers. So, sometimes people do things that benefit other people, but ultimately innovation and driving things forward and getting more product out the door and maximizing your business should not be dictated by one guy, down in California. And as long as it is, then this industry is going to have an artificial ceiling on it. It will not be able to grow. It will not be able to go other places. The healthiest thing for comics, and that includes retailers, by the way, would be for key comics to be sold in Walmart and Target. And there are people who will fight me on that till to the grave. But as long as you exclude those businesses, you're screwed. And you're talking to, this is a guy, meaning me, who had a comic shop, a direct market comic shop, when you still could buy, not many, but you could still find comics on the newsstand. You could still go in places and find them there. I had a successful business during that time. Did really well. It was, and frankly, I think it was healthier for the comic shop because it forced me, and as it did others, to make sure you're investing well into back issues, making sure you were selling t-shirts and posters, making sure you're doing a better job to highlight things other than being, on basically hooked up to crack on whatever Marvel and DC were pumping out new monthly. I don't think the direct market was ever intended to be sold at 80%. There's this Facebook thread about, 4 or 5 months ago, talking about percentage of money that you make. And these retailers are going, yeah, times have really changed. It was really tough. I used to make 80% of my money off of new comics. Whenever I'd read that, I'm like, holy shit, this is not, That's not a business. I'm sorry, that's not a sustainable business. That's basically somebody who has completely turned over their success, their future, all of that to the publisher. That's not healthy. It was never supposed to operate that way. So this idea of so all this is true. If you saw, by the way, if you saw books being distributed out in the wild, in the newsstand, in places like that, it would increase the distribution count. If it increased the distribution count, yes, there's returnability and all those other things. This isn't simple, but it would overall grow the revenue coming in. If it grew the revenue coming in, it would in turn start to grow the revenue, or the money going out. People would make more. Artists would make more because there's a higher run on your book. You get more exposure. It's healthy for you. Children's books have that by and large. Comics don't. So to me, that's the problem. So I don't think it's sad that children's books pay more sometimes per page. I think that's an appropriate reaction to what the industry is like right now. And yes, it is sad, but it's sad because, we continue to allow, basically self-serving a-holes to dictate, who gets what. Sorry. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, fuck off. Fuck off. I'll slide my net worth against yours any fucking day. Thanks for listening.